Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here. Today I'm going to answer a question that's a little different, and it's one that I see that gets asked a lot in the community, not necessarily on YouTube, but in the fitness community, the training community in general, and people usually get some pretty snide and smart-ass answers. And I want to try to answer this question in a very serious manner, rather than do that. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Alright, as I have a large international audience and a very large percentage of the world are Muslims. And so I get a lot of questions asking me, is it possible to make gains? How should I train? What should I do different during Ramadan? And to be honest, as somebody who's not religious, who is agnostic, I don't know a lot about Islam. So I had to open up a thread on this, and I invited a number of my Muslim subscribers to explain to me the restrictions of Ramadan. And so what I've done is that I've taken the information they've given me, and I want to try to answer this question in a serious manner, because a lot of people seem to answer this question with, well, you should stop being Muslim, or you should stop practicing Ramadan. But really, that's an extremely disrespectful answer, and it doesn't answer the questions, because these people obviously who are asking this question are not going to quit being Muslim. It's really a cop-out and a smart-ass answer that people give to try to avoid actually exploring the question. And so what I want to do is try to explore that question a little deeper. Now, when you look at the restrictions, if it was only food fasting, this would be easy, because plenty of people bulk and make gains doing intermittent fasting year-round. I do the same thing. So that's not that hard to do. What makes it difficult and interesting is the water fasting, and that's really what fascinated me. So what I would say that people need to do is consider if they really want to bulk or cut during this time. Now, for obvious reasons, and those who are Muslim who practice Ramadan can obviously see that this can be very useful and easy for cutting. But not everybody wants to cut during this time. So let's look at the bulking and the water issue. Now, the first thing we should look at is, obviously, if you're trying to eat a caloric surplus, normally you could do it in that feed window easy, but because of the fact that you have to rehydrate yourself and get all the water that you need during that narrow feed window, and for those who don't know, the feed window is only during the dark. They're not allowed to eat at all anytime between sunrise and sunset, regardless of which country they're in, or the time zone, or what time the sun comes up or down where they are. Muslims may not have any sort of food, any sort of water. Basically, nothing can go in their mouth unless they need it for medical reasons, for their survival, such as a medication that they have to have. Then nothing can go basically down their throat. So no food, no water, no pills, nothing. So what I would recommend is try to get as much of your food in as you can without chewing, so that it gives you easier ability to get water down also. So if you can go for liquid calories like protein shakes, milk, fruit juices, smoothies, things like that, that you can basically drink your calories to hit the numbers that you need, especially to get your protein and your total calories in, that would be a good idea, because you can get a little bit of the hydration in without having to chew the food. And the other thing I would look at is eating lower fiber foods. Since you've got to get all of that water in, if you take in a bunch of soluble fiber to try to hit your calories during that window, in addition to all of your water loading during that window, you're more likely to get full and swell up from the extra fiber. So things like white rice, potatoes, keeping the lower fiber carbs would be a good way to go. And fruit is still a good choice there, because again, it hydrates, and it's only a moderate amount of fiber. It doesn't have a lot of insoluble fiber that's going to swell up. So things like that work. And obviously, if you can't get your protein from dairy due to lactose intolerance, you're going to have to go with meats again. But again, you can still get most of your carbs and other things from easier to consume sources, and just keep the fiber low. So if you have to eat meat to get your protein due to a lactose intolerance, then that's what you have to do. But if you can handle the dairy, things like milk, yogurts, and particularly protein shakes are going to make it a lot easier. Now, the other thing I would look at is, obviously you're going to drink through the whole window. You're going to drink as much water as you can during that period, but what I would recommend, so that you can make sure that you're super hydrated, I would drink as much water as you can in the last, say, 15 to 30 minutes. so that you can get as much hydration as possible for your training. Now, I've noticed a lot of people are using different methods for their training, and here's what I'm going to recommend, because what you really want to look at, you've got basically a period of time every day to where you are both glycogen depleted and then you're glycogen super compensated near the end of that feed window and near the end of the time you're eating. And that super compensation is going to last for several hours after you start the fast. You're going to get the same thing with the water. You're going to get dehydrated throughout the day, but you're going to super compensate and overhydrate during the evening. And so what I would look at is training when you have peak hydration and peak glycogen supercompensation, and that's going to be a couple of hours after you start the fast. And you don't need to worry about your post-workout nutrition because your glycogen stores are already supercompensated from the depletion and refeed previous to that. So you're actually holding more glycogen than you normally would under normal conditions. So use that to your advantage. Use it for training fuel. Now also keep in mind that because it's going to get hotter throughout the day, you're going to get dehydrated no matter what. But getting further dehydrated from training is probably not going to help your muscle gains at all. So what I would also look at is the fact that it's going to be cooler in the morning. So if it's just a couple hours after you start your fast and you go to the gym and train, you're going to lose less water training than if you train later in the day. So you're actually going to maintain a better 24-hour hydration if you do that. And because you're super hydrated, you're going to get better workouts anyway. So that's how I would do it. And obviously you're going to get thirsty after, but there's no way around that. It seems pretty apparent that there's no way you're going to be able to avoid the thirst anyway, so you're just going to have to live with that. But that is when I would time the training. It's just a couple hours after you start your fast, maybe 3 hours at the most, depending on what your schedule looks like. But about 2 hours is going to be, I would think, optimal for both glycogen supercompensation and for your hydration levels. Now also don't go in and do a high volume of training. What I would focus on, because you're not going to be able to replenish as easily after, keep the volume a little low, keep the weights heavy, drop the reps down a little bit. This would be a good time for you to try something like a 5x5 program. Rather than going in and doing a bunch of 10 rep supersets, come in and lift heavy with a relatively moderate volume with fairly low reps and heavy weight, and try to make gains through strength during this time period rather than through depleting yourself. Because if you're depleting yourself, you're going to burn through glycogen easier that you're going to need, and you're already going to be depleted later in the day, so you don't want to deplete that any more than you have to through the training. So you need efficient training. And it's the same with the hydration issue. If you're going in doing 5 sets of 10 and supersets and things, you're going to break a sweat easier, and you don't want to do that. That's going to hurt your progress over that month because you're going to get dehydrated easier during the day, and particularly post-training, which is going to affect your muscle protein synthesis. So again, that's the time of year when dropping down to something like a 5x5 would work really, really well due to the situation, and you'd still be able to make good gains that way. Alright guys, and that's really all I have to say on that today. I want to thank the 20 or so subscribers who did post in the thread to explain to me a little more about Ramadan and to educate me a little bit on the matter, because I really didn't fully understand it until then, particularly this stuff about the water. So the information that you guys is helpful to me in trying to answer the question. So I'm appreciative of that. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.